If your DNS breaks, your server can look completely offline, even when the server is absolutely fine. That's why DNS monitoring is useful. In this video, I'll show you how to set up a DNS uptime test in StatusCake, what it actually checks, and which settings matter the most. A DNS test checks that your domain is resolving correctly. In simple terms, when someone types in your domain into a browser, DNS is the system that tells the device where your website lives. If that lookup fails, users can't find you. And importantly, DNS failures can also look like other problems. For example, you might see email issues or SMTP alerts when the real problem is the DNS resolver being slow or unreliable. So DNS monitoring gives you a very useful extra signal. A DNS test is useful if you've recently changed DNS providers, you're migrating hosting or using a new CDN, you've had intermittent site not loading reports, or you just want confidence that your domain is resolving in the way you expect. This is especially useful for businesses where downtime means lost revenue. First, we have host. This is the domain you want to check. Usually your root domain like example.com or a specific subdomain like www.example.com or api.example.com. A good beginner approach is to monitor your main domain and monitor one important subdomain if you have one, such as login, app, or API. Next is expected IPs, and this is the key field for DNS tests. This tells StatusCake what you expect the domain to resolve to. So you would enter the IP address or IP addresses that should be returned. If a DNS resolves to something unexpected, the test will fail, and that's what makes this very useful. A quick note here, if you're behind a load balancer or a provider that uses multiple IPs, you may have to add more than one expected IP. So just list them in this field exactly as your system uses them. Next is the DNS server IP. This is optional. If you leave it blank, we'll use our normal resolvers and check the domain resolution as a user would experience it. If you do fill it in, you're basically saying, query this specific DNS server directly. That's a useful tool if you're trying to monitor a particular DNS provider or your own internal DNS. For most beginners, I would leave this completely blank. Now let's look at the check rate. DNS can fail in short bursts, but it can also be slightly slow without being down. So for most teams, 5 minutes is a great default. 1 minute is fine if DNS is business critical and you're confident in stability. Next, we want to go down to our monitoring region. Now, it's always best to choose regions that match where your users actually are. DNS can behave differently in different locations, especially with CDNs or geo-routing. So pick regions that reflect where your traffic actually is. Now for the confirmation servers, I always recommend using either 2 or 3. This reduces false positives because DNS failures can be intermittent and the majority rule helps confirm it's a real issue. Next, choose your contact group. This should be the team that can actually fix the DNS issues because DNS issues are usually urgent. You can also enable an alert delay if you want to reduce noise, but make sure you're careful here. With DNS, even a few minutes of failure can be very visible to users, so I usually keep alert delay off for DNS. Then we have our additional options. So this will include your crawl timeout. The default here is usually fine for a beginner test. Tags, these are good for organization, and a hosting provider is completely optional. Once these are all filled out, click Create Test, and that's it. Now if your domain stops resolving correctly or resolves to the wrong IP, you'll know quickly. If your server is up but users can't reach your site, DNS is one of the first things you should check. This test gives you that signal immediately.